Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're tackling a question that's both exciting and kind of daunting, choosing a medical specialty. You're on the path to becoming a doctor, which is amazing, but with so many options out there, how do you even begin to narrow it down? Well, we've got some incredible insights today from Dr. Kamlesh Pargava. He's a physician who's not just experienced, but really gets how tough this decision can be. He doesn't just give you the facts. He makes you think about the bigger picture, your personal goals, what actually excites you about medicine, and how you see yourself making a difference. And get this, he even gives us a special focus on family medicine in India, with some real talk about salaries and career paths there. Buckle up, this is going to be a good one.
It's such a pivotal point in a medical career, isn't it? So many factors come into play, and it's easy to get overwhelmed. Dr. Pargava really nails it by starting with self-reflection.
Okay, self-reflection. What does that actually look like when you're staring down a list of specialties?
He has these questions that really force you to dig deep. It's not just, what do you find interesting? It's more like, imagine yourself in the ER. Does that adrenaline rush energize you? Or send you into panic mode? Or think about spending decades with the same patients, seeing their families grow. Is that something that brings you joy? Or would you crave more variety?
See, that's already way more helpful than just looking at a list of pros and cons. I feel like most people jump right to the practical stuff. How long is training? What's the job market like? Can I make decent money doing this? But starting with how you actually want to spend your days, that's genius.
Absolutely. And it ties into another question Dr. Pargava poses. What kind of work style suits you best? Some specialties are incredibly hands-on. You're literally operating, making split-second decisions. Others are more about intense analysis, poring over lab results, piecing together complex diagnoses.
Okay, so that's a huge range. I guess someone who loves the OR might not be as happy in a pathology lab, even though both are vital to patient care.
Right. And that's before we even touch on lifestyle. Some residencies are notorious for brutal hours. You're talking sleep deprivation, basically living at the hospital. Others are more structured, with more predictable shifts.
Which brings up another point Dr. Pargava emphasizes early on, thinking about your personal life, your values. Do you envision a family, hobbies outside medicine? Because those things matter too, and they impact your career choices.
It's like so many students, myself included, get laser focused on the become a doctor part, that we forget about the become a whole person part too. But wouldn't you say some specialties make that work-life balance harder than others?
It's definitely a factor. Surgery, for example, often demands longer, more unpredictable hours compared to, say, dermatology. And that's not a value judgment, it's just the reality of the field.
So is it fair to say that some people, even if they're brilliant doctors, might realize a certain specialty just doesn't fit their life, not just their skills? That's a spot-on observation. And recognizing that early on can save a lot of heartache down the line. It's about aligning your medical aspirations with your personal values and goals.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork with personal fit. But what about the practical stuff? Let's be real. You gotta be able to find a job in your chosen specialty. What does Dr. Pargava say about training and navigating that whole job market landscape?
That's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Pargava breaks it down into some key areas, and the first one might surprise you. It's not about the prestige of a specialty, or even necessarily the salary. It's about the length of training.
Wait, hold on. I thought all doctors go to med school, then residency, and they're good to go.
Not quite. Residency lengths vary wildly. Family medicine, for instance, is usually 3 years. But if you're aiming for something super specialized, like neurosurgery, you're looking at 7 years of residency, plus a fellowship, which could be another 2 to 3 years.
Wow, so you're talking about a decade of training after med school. No wonder people say becoming a doctor takes forever.
Right. And that brings up another point that Dr. Pargava doesn't sugarcoat. The financial and emotional strain of that extended training. Living on a resident's salary, dealing with the demands of these programs, it takes a toll.
So you're not just picking a career, you're picking a lifestyle for a good chunk of your adult life.
Precisely. And it's important to be realistic about that, because that long training impacts your personal life, your finances, everything.
Okay, so let's say you've powered through all that training, you've got the skills and qualifications. What does Dr. Pargava say about actually finding a job? Navigating the job market?
He emphasizes that it's not just about picking a popular specialty. It's about understanding the demand in your preferred location.
It's like, even if you're the best heart surgeon in the world, if you want to live in a tiny rural town, you might not have a job.
Exactly. He talks about researching job availability And honestly assessing if the lifestyle of a particular region aligns with your vision. Are you drawn to a bustling city hospital with cutting-edge technology? Or a small-town practice where you're deeply connected to the community?
That's a huge point. I feel like people don't always think about that geographic side of things, how location plays into your specialty choice. And I'm guessing earning potential ties into all of this too, right? Like some specialties might be more lucrative than others.
He addresses that head-on. Dr. Bhargava provides salary ranges, but emphasizes that it's not just about the big bucks. It's about finding a balance between financial security and pursuing your passions. He also encourages thinking about different work settings, private practice, academia, or hospital-based work. Each has its own pros and cons when it comes to income, autonomy, and work-life balance.
Okay, so we've got this practicality checklist: training, job market, location, salary. But Dr. Bhargava goes beyond that, right? He makes you think about the bigger picture, the impact you want to have as a doctor.
That's where his advice gets really inspiring. He says, think about the legacy you want to leave. What kind of doctor do you want to be remembered as? He pushes you to consider how your chosen specialty aligns with your values and vision for healthcare.
That's beautiful. It's not just about treating patients, it's about how you want to shape the world, right?
Exactly. Do you dream of being on the front lines of a trauma center, saving lives in those critical moments? Or are you passionate about preventative care, working in underserved communities, empowering people to live healthier lives?
That really makes me think about the healthcare disparities I've seen growing up. Do you think specialties like family medicine can truly address those systemic issues?
Dr. Bhargava believes they play a crucial role. He sees family physicians as advocates, educators, and partners in building healthier communities.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's be honest. Medicine is notoriously stressful. You hear about burnout all the time. Does Dr. Bhargava address that emotional side of things?
Absolutely. He emphasizes self-awareness and coping mechanisms, especially when choosing a specialty. He says, ask yourself, how do I handle stress? What are my limits? Because some specialties, by their very nature, come with higher levels of pressure and emotional intensity.
So, it's about matching your personality to the demands of the specialty, right? Like, someone who thrives in chaos might love the ER, but someone who needs more structure might burn out quickly in that environment.
That's a great way to put it. It's about finding a sustainable passion, a path that sustains your love for medicine in the long run. And that leads us to a specialty Dr. Bhargava seems particularly excited about: family medicine. He even gives us 7 compelling reasons to consider it.
7 reasons. He must really love family medicine. What's the first one that grabs you?
He starts by emphasizing the diverse and holistic scope of practice. Family doctors see patients of all ages, from newborns to the elderly. They treat a wide range of conditions, from everyday illnesses to chronic diseases.
You're not just limited to one specific area of medicine. You're equipped to care for the whole person throughout their life.
Precisely. And this leads to his second point: high demand and job security. With India's growing population and focus on primary care, family physicians are needed everywhere, both in urban and rural areas.
I've heard that some urban areas are getting saturated with doctors, though. Is that a concern for family medicine, too?
It's a valid point. While there's definitely high demand overall, it's important to research specific regions. Some metropolitan areas might be more competitive, while rural areas often face a shortage of doctors.
Okay, so it's not just a blanket statement of job security. It's about understanding the nuances of the market. What else does Dr. Bhargava highlight?
He talks about the deep satisfaction that comes from building long-term relationships with patients. He describes it as a privilege to be a part of their health journey, to see families grow and evolve over time.
That reminds me of a family doctor in my hometown. Everyone knows her. She's delivered babies, treated grandparents. It's like this incredible continuity of care.
Exactly. And that sense of connection, of being a trusted advisor, is something many family physicians find incredibly rewarding.
Okay. I can see the appeal there. It's like that old school image of the family doctor who knows everyone in town. But what about career options within family medicine? Is it pretty limited to just running a small practice?
Actually, that's another compelling reason Dr. Bhargava highlights. Family medicine is incredibly versatile. You could work in clinics, hospitals, or even explore telemedicine platforms. There's also the opportunity to specialize further, focusing on areas like sports medicine, geriatrics, or even palliative care.
Whoa, I didn't realize there were so many paths within family medicine. It's like you can tailor it to your specific interests.
Exactly. And Dr. Bhargava also highlights the impact family physicians can have on public health. They're often on the front lines of addressing health disparities, promoting preventative care, and advocating for better healthcare access in underserved communities.
That brings us back to that bigger picture impact we talked about earlier. It's like family medicine has this ripple effect, influencing not just individual patients, but whole communities.
Right. And speaking of impact, Dr. Bhargava specifically mentions government initiatives in India that are prioritizing primary care, like Ayushman Bharat and the National Health Mission.
Wait, can you explain this a bit more? I've heard the names, but don't really know what they're about.
Sure. Ayushman Bharat is a national health insurance scheme that aims to provide coverage to millions of Indians, particularly those in poverty. The National Health Mission focuses on strengthening the healthcare system, including expanding primary care services. Both of these initiatives create significant opportunities for family physicians.
It's like there's this national push towards preventative care and accessible health care, and family medicine is at the forefront of that movement.
Precisely. It's a field that's not only in demand, but also aligned with the broader vision of healthcare in India.
And that ties into what we talked about earlier, finding a specialty that feels meaningful. That's more than just a job. But okay, let's be practical for a minute. What about the salary question? What does Dr. Bhargava say about earning potential in family medicine, specifically in India?
He provides some specific insights, but emphasizes that these are approximate figures. Salaries can vary based on experience, location, and the type of practice.
Okay, so what's the ballpark range we're looking at here?
He mentions that the average annual salary for a family doctor in India is approximately $712,104, which comes out to about $59,342 per month.
That's helpful to know. But I bet those figures go up with experience, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you have your own practice or specialize in something.
Yeah, absolutely. He points out that with experience, family doctors can earn significantly more, potentially reaching up to $2 million per year.
Okay. So there's definitely room for growth and earning power within family medicine. It seems like family medicine really ticks a lot of boxes. The personal connection, the impact, the work-life balance potential. But it's just one option out of so many, right?
Exactly. And that's what Dr. Bhargava emphasizes. There's no single best specialty. It's about finding the best fit for you, for your unique set of skills, passions, and life goals.
You know, listening to all this, it makes me think about how I chose my career path. It definitely wasn't a straight line. There were doubts and detours along the way. I imagine it's even more intense for med students facing this specialty decision.
He actually talks about that, how it's normal to feel uncertain, to be drawn to different aspects of medicine. He encourages exploration, shadowing doctors in various specialties, talking to mentors, and really getting a feel for the day-to-day reality of each field.
It's like you need to try on different hats before you find the one that fits just right. But how do you know when you've found it? What's that aha moment like?
Dr. Bhargava describes it as a sense of alignment, where your head, heart, and gut are all saying yes to a particular specialty, where you can envision yourself not just doing the work, but thriving in that environment, making a real difference.
That makes sense. It's not just about checking boxes on a list. It's about that deeper sense of purpose.
And to help with that, he offers a powerful visualization exercise. He says, imagine yourself 10 years from now. What kind of doctor are you? What does your typical day look like? How do you feel when you walk into work?
Whoa. That's intense. It's like fast forwarding to your future self and seeing if that image aligns with who you want to become.
Exactly. And he says, to pay attention to how you feel during that visualization. Are you energized, excited, fulfilled, or are you drained, stressed, counting down the hours till you can leave?
That's such a smart way to tap into your intuition, because sometimes our logical minds get caught up in the shoulds and supposed tos, but our gut feeling often knows what's truly right for us.
It's about trusting that inner compass and remembering that choosing a specialty isn't a life sentence. You could always evolve, specialize further, even change course down the line if you need to.
That's reassuring. So, to all our listeners out there grappling with this big decision, it sounds like Dr. Bhargava's advice boils down to this. Do your research, get practical, but also listen to your heart, connect with your future self, and trust your gut.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a journey, and there will be bumps along the way, but ultimately, it's about finding a path that aligns with your passion for medicine and your vision for the kind of doctor you want to be.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into choosing a medical specialty. I hope you found this as insightful and inspiring as I did. And remember, you don't have to go through this alone. Reach out to mentors, advisors, and maybe even picture yourself 10 years from now. That future doctor might just have the answers you're looking for.
And don't forget the wealth of information and guidance available online and through professional organizations. There's a whole community of support out there, ready to help you navigate this exciting, albeit daunting,
journey. Until next time on the Dup Dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep chasing those dreams.